You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to find out more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where you'll find all of our past podcasts and other blog posts that we have up, along with some other items that you can purchase to help support the Beardcast. So we hope you enjoy listening to this week's show. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So this week, as we were shooting around, trying to figure out what we were going to talk about, the great minor prophet book Zephaniah jumped out at us, only because Zach couldn't find out where it was.
And it's one of those minor prophets nobody cares about, right?
It's one of those minor prophets. I mean, we're actually closer to Jesus now in the
That's true.
I mean, if you looked at it that way, even though that's not really the way to.
Well, I was going to say page.
Don't. Please don't. But it's one of the lectionary texts this week, and there was one line that really stuck out with me as we were reading it, and it's 15b. The Common English has it: "The Lord, the King of Israel, is in your midst. You will no longer fear evil." I find that interesting in the time that we're in. And especially with Advent and how the birth of Christ can alleviate our fears. For some it makes it a struggle because of just life. But Zach, as you were reading through the Zephaniah passage this week, what came out to you and what stuck with you, and then we'll keep going.
Sure. Well, Zephaniah is interesting because it is a minor prophet. It kind of snugged in there between Habakkuk and Haggai, and like you say, leading into the New Testament and Jesus, give or take a few hundred years, right? And as you read through this book, Zephaniah is a minor prophet. What prophets have to do is bring a message that's typically not enjoyable to hear. The people don't want to hear it. That's why God sends prophets, right? There's this call of judgment, there's the call to repentance, and then you get over here into chapter 3, and you find that at last your troubles will be over, and you'll never again fear disaster. So when you look at that in the kind of the context in which Zephaniah brings this judgment and a lot of fear revolving around the world, what brings joy? What overcomes that fear? And it's joy. And like you said, when we look at our world today, there's a lot that people are afraid of. We fear probably much more than we don't, right? We fear going hungry, we fear being poor, we fear war, we fear people, we just fear all kinds of things. And so what for us in our lives overcomes that? And it's got to be joy. And so when we look at this time of the year through Advent and we're preparing for the birth of Christ, what does that lead us into, right? Well, hopefully, right, we believe that Christ brings these things: hope, joy, love, and peace. And when that happens, fear doesn't go along with those words. Fear is replaced by those words, by love, hope, joy, and peace. And that's kind of, I think, what Zephaniah is getting at here of, look, there's the Lord's coming, right? It's going to be here, and fear goes. We have nothing to fear beyond that. But that's tough because we live in a very tangible, fear-oriented world. And so I think sometimes we just cling to fear a little bit, maybe not for any reason other than we know it's there, and how do we shake it?
So I think we all struggle at some point. We all have fears. I love this line in verse 19, and it's 19 and 20 is the end of the reading for this week. But it says, "Watch, I'm about to do to you all your oppressor. Watch what I'm about to do to all of your oppressors at that time. I will deliver the lame. I will gather the outcast. I will change their shame into praise and fame throughout the earth. At that time, I will bring you all back. At the time when I gather you, I will give you fame and praise among all the neighboring peoples when I restore your possessions and you can see them, says the Lord." And that reorientation, like, let's be honest, when when we think about Christmas and we think about Jesus' birth, we think about the Christ reality being restored, and that giving us a sense of praise and a sense of being a Christian. And for some, that's a great thing, and for others, like, you know, that's not necessarily the best of things. That's not the inclusive thing. But I think that if we think about it in a sense of Christmas, in that birth, it is the birth of peace. And you've heard stories. I mean, there's all sorts of great Christmassy time stories about, you know, when war would stop because it was Christmas. And for one day, I mean, there's a really great World War I story about how they stopped the war for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that if for one day we had peace, man, that's just enough. And that maybe eventually in the future that would fully come into full fruition. I mean, that's a hope that we all long for. That's a hope. I mean, man, it'd be really nice if food and or famine and war would go away. I mean, that would be great. But if we can, man, just for one day, give people a glimmer of hope. You know, it kind of, oh. When I was thinking of that, I was thinking of Luke 4 when Jesus talks about what he's here to do, and I could hear some of the similarities of what Jesus was here to do in Zephaniah. And I know I'm reading Jesus into this, and I know that's not necessarily healthy, but it's who we are in a sense of centering us and bringing us into that full season of Advent, preparing and
right. Well, and I think that's talking about the hope for fear to go away and for peace to come on earth, right? For joy to come, for love, for all of these things. We often, I think what gets us in trouble, we often look down the road for that to come, right? Instead of knowing that it's here today and working within that today to have that one moment, right? To have that one moment of joy, that one moment of peace, and carry that over into tomorrow, and then to carry that over, right? I think what we get stuck in doing is this, well, Jesus has come, it's going to happen, right? Well, no, it's Jesus has come and it's happened, and we're to carry that day to day, and take those moments of peace, love, hope, and joy into our day-to-day lives, where so we're not looking down the road for these things to come, for fear to go away, but we're seeing the moments in our day where fear is dissolved and is replaced by this. And I think that brings it home much, much more than thinking, oh, it's going to be down the road. Oh, it's coming. No, it's here. It's here. And I think that's what Advent does, is to prepare our hearts and minds for that realization of, oh yeah, it's here today, right?
Well, and that's where, you know, we think of joy, and I think this is why I struggle with joy, because I feel like sometimes joy is so short term.
Sure.
Because
well, it's very
joy, right? Yeah, in the moment, joy can easily turn. And I think that's I struggle on Joy Sunday, not because it's not. I mean, it's easy to preach a joyful sermon. It's easy to talk about, you know, the joy that Mary felt finding out that she was having. I mean, and
let me push back on that a little bit, though, right? Because Mary does, yes. Do you think Mary's response of finding out that she is having this child that's not Joseph's a purely joyful experience?
I don't think from that side, no, but I think from when she realizes when it's the reality experience of like the miraculousness of this, that's where joy happens. It's right. Not in the details, not in the early moments, but in that latter, once it fleshes out. And think about, have you ever been in a situation where like at first, like, oh my God, this is horrible. Oh my God, I can't believe this. And then like, once you go through it and you push through it, man, that was so fun. I really that was so awesome. Right. Like, and to me, like, that's joy. I mean, that's what joy looks like. And that's why I think it's so short, and it is a bit of a struggle to think that like we can sustain joy. Right. Because markets crash, wars happen, weather changes. I mean,
and I don't think anybody outside of the prosperity gospel is saying joy is sustainable, right?
Right.
Because that's what that is do this and you'll just have joy, everything be good. Well, that's not true. Life is still life, and life sucks sometimes, and life is hard, and things steal our joy. And so no, that's not sustainable. And that's why people crash so hard when that joy goes away, when that gospel is being preached to them.
Well,
right.
And I think that's why, like right now, I think one of the bigger struggles in the church is that people like want that joy every Sunday, and they want that joy all the time, and they want that joy. I mean, because our world teaches that like, I hate to say Ren and Snippy, but I hear happy, joy, happy, joy. Like, and the world doesn't work that way. That sometimes where things happen, and while it's only temporal, the darkness is only temporal. There is joy in the morning. I love that song. There's joy in the morning on that day, and that hope, that anticipation, knowing that God loves us and is going to get us through that darkest valley. That's the hope and joy and peace and love that we all long for. It's the hope and joy and love and peace that we all need. And as we think about this Advent season, and man, we have really gone off the rails this podcast this week, but I think that we've really liked the Advent in a way that I hope, at least through this conversation, may start the idea of not necessarily, I'm not going to say go seek joy, but like where in your life right now is there joy? And open yourself up to those possibilities that what may be there that you didn't realize are joyful moments.
And I think that's the question. And I don't think that we've gone off the rails on this, because we're preparing our hearts and minds and souls for the thing to come, right? And that comes with knowing joy is not instant, joy is not sustainable, and joy is truly not the end goal, but it's finding those moments throughout the day that are joyful, rather than waiting for them just to show up, right? Sometimes we have to look for it because the world we live in and the human nature says something else, right? And so no, I don't know that we've gone off the rails on this.
No, but
but it's an interesting place to start from Zephaniah to get to Advent, right?
So we want to encourage you to go online and go to beardedtheologians.com. We've got some great content up on there on the website. There's some stuff to buy from Zazzle to support our podcast. Be great Christmas gifts for you and whatever parties you may be attending. And so check us out on the beardedtheologians.com. So for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Freaks.
I'm Zach Bechtold, and I'm glad he didn't call it Dirty Santa.
I was going to say something about Tulo being a free agent, and I couldn't.
I'm putting a poll up on the Facebooks here. What do you call Christmas parties? Secret Santa, Dirty Santa, but I can't figure out how to do more than 2. Maybe shift in it. Oh, nope. Because I know you can do more.
Oh no, I think on my little thread, on that little thread that we were a part of, I think we gathered that I'm in the wrong. And
yeah, you are. But I want to have an official vote on this.
No, I don't need this. I know I'm in the wrong on this. Although if you read that article, it provided some interesting background, which is always.
It did. I didn't read the article, but.
But I mean.
But you can do more than 2, right?
Not on those. You can in groups.
Oh, in groups.
Because the one thing that you and I haven't talked about is Yankee Swap.
We have not talked about Yankee Swap, and that was going to be one of my things on here.
We hope you've enjoyed the conversations that we've had today on the Bearded Theologians Beardcast, and we'd encourage you to continue those conversations online at beardedtheologians.com or on our Facebook page. We also hope that you pick up a couple of coffee mugs to satisfy your coffee mug collection. Have a good day.